It is Mailbag Day, a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. This is the walk-off. Thank you so much to all the grounds crew members who constantly fill our inboxes and comment sections with your comments and questions. We do comb through everything, all of your interaction every single week. You can always get a hold of us by dropping your comments on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio form, feel free to follow on Instagram or Twitter at Walk Off Podcast on Twitter, the Walk Off Podcast on Instagram, and you can just shoot us a DM. We're very on top of that, so easy to get a hold of us. You can join the Discord if you're not already a member. All you need to do is send us a DM. We will send you a link, and away you go. I know we've grown our Discord pretty substantially over the last month or so 20 plus new members, I think there are in there, and constantly chatting and talking Blue Jays. And I know during the trade deadline, there were a couple members that were like, it's almost a full-time job being in Discord. So yeah, lots of baseball talk. Feel free to reach out to us on Discord as well, as we also comb through there every single week. Okay, that's basically how you get a hold of us. We do this every Tuesday. Let's get to her here, Adam.
Okay. Comment.
We should mention too the Patreon bump. If you're a Patreon member, automatic. You get your questions and comments into the mailbag. You get the Patreon bump. That's $4 a month, which gives you instant access to all our interviews. I know we're releasing Jay Jackson, member of the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. That was a really fun little interview we did last week. Of course, all the Patreon members didn't need to wait for that. They had instant access as of Wednesday afternoon last week when we finished the interview. I know Davis Schneider's interview is doing really well. We put that out 3 days ago. That's been available since we talked to him last month. So again, if you want that priority privilege and you want to get that, the bump for your comments, that's how you do it.
There you go. Okay, question number 1 comes from the comment section on YouTube. Benjamin says, look at Biggio's last 30 game stats. He's killing it, and I'd absolutely get rid of Espinal over him, as there's still potential. We've never seen the best of Cavan Biggio. So yesterday on Long Toss, more like a game of catch. There's only 2 of us for most of the show, but
yeah.
And then Lewis joined halfway through and just sat in the waiting room, and I didn't notice. And then
I felt so bad because it's funny. I messaged you being like, Lewis is going to show up in 5 to 10 minutes. And then you texted me, tell him not to worry about it. But I was busy. I didn't even see that text. And then I opened Twitter and everything like an hour and a half later. And Lewis is like, I'm here. I'm still here. How do I get on?
It's nothing against Lewis. Jen and I just got into a rhythm. We had already kind of blown through 80% of the topics. I didn't want to bring him on and be like, well, let's go back to the start and rehash those 5 things.
Right.
Because I know what's going to happen is and again, this isn't an anti-Lewis thing. I would do the same thing if I came in. I'd be like, well, I don't know what you guys just said about these topics, but here's what, and then we're just going to be a full rehash. It would have been so, and then, of course, we brought him in, and that's exactly what happened. And it was with the one top, we just went over the Anthony Rizzo thing, and it was just clumsy at the end, and it was just, anyways, Long Toss. We still got through it, so it was good. We had like 100 plus people in the live chat. It was a really good episode.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So anyways, one of the things we talked about was the roster crunch coming up. The fact that we do have guys coming back. I think they're on the 10 or 15 day IL right now. Bo's on the 10-day IL. Romano, Trevor Richards, both on the 15-day IL. These are guys that even if they're not ready, at the end of their IL stint, they're not getting moved to the 60-day IL.
No.
Because that would basically finish their season. So even if they're still 2 weeks away, they're getting moved to the active roster. Anyways, Espinal, Biggio, Davis Schneider. The question was if Davis Schneider continues to just rake. Here's a question for you, because Jen and I, unfortunately, kind of came to the same conclusion. Was like, let's flash forward to this Friday, because I think Bo's time on the IL is up on Thursday. misquote me on that, whatever. If it's Friday, then move what I'm saying back a day. You get the point. If David Schneider is still hitting 500, is he still the guy that gets sent down just because of like roster management, like, or asset control? Like, he's the guy with options, he's the whatever, whereas Biggio has the service time to decline being sent down. Like,
so had you asked me this before Davis Schneider's debut, I would say there is nothing he could possibly do to not be that guy,
right,
called, yo-yoed back down.
right. So if I ask you the morning of game 1 in Boston, and I say, what can he do to even keep his job 10 days from now? You're like, nothing. Yeah. He's going to enjoy your cup of coffee, enjoy your pay raise, and we'll see him maybe when rosters expand again in September.
Exactly. And that's 100% what I would have said. But honestly, dude,
he found the one thing.
The energy that he provided this club when they needed it the absolute most, I can't think of a comparable within this Blue Jays roster without going back literally almost a decade. The guy showed up when they needed him most and provided power, provided hits, provided energy, provided an excitement that this team of veterans hadn't even. And that when I say veterans, I mean, like, I know Vlad's 24, I know Bo's 25. They've been in the bigs for 6 years almost, you know? Like, these are guys that have been playing baseball with this team since they were 19. And, you kind of get in that rhythm. And maybe when you're not hitting and, there's all the talk of runners in scoring position, you can become complacent and down and out and lack that energy that a debut to this kind of extent can provide. So honestly, I'm at the point now where I think Espinal is truly, truly on the bubble, dude. And I think it would be a big mistake for them come Friday if they do need to move somebody to make it be Davis Schneider, even if Schneider doesn't really continue to hammer things like he's not going to hit 700 for the rest of the frickin' time in the bigs, right?
Right.
I mean, he didn't have a hit yesterday, and he's still hitting 550. So he looked good in left. I like the idea that they can move him around the diamond a little bit. He plays second base, and he plays it well. He has reps at third base. He's even taken a few starts at shortstop in AAA this year. He is a versatile dude. And for what he's providing at the plate right now, I don't change a dang thing. And if that means Espinal being sent down, that's maybe the move you got to do. Now, the only thing
looking at Davis Schneider's minor league history, he has about 45% of his games at third base, 40% at second base, and then the other 10 to 15% mixed between the outfield and shortstop. So
yeah, his primary position is obviously second and third. And I think that who was the question from?
Question from Benjamin.
Benjamin is correct in saying that Cavan Biggio has done a really good job in the last month of making this less of a decision between him and Espinal and really putting Espy on the hot seat.
Well, let me read out the numbers here.
Please.
So Espinal, I'm going to go since the All-Star break. So this is since July 15th. Espinal batting average 229, OPS 632, and then doubles and home runs all kind of slot out from there as you'd expect. So 229 batting average, OPS 632. Cavan Biggio, take a guess at his batting average since the All-Star break.
330.
Yeah, you fucking guessed way too high. 318.
Okay. Still. I did guess too high. I did put I should have. I knew better.
You always got to come in low. It's like when someone's like, guess how much I got this car for. You always guess way, if it's a good deal, you want to guess whatever so that they feel like their answer is like more impressive, right?
Yes.
So you fucked me
I
there.
really screwed you over here,
Because
buddy. My
318 is a good
apologies.
number.
I know, it's a great
But now it
number.
feels like, oh, well, it's not. It could be better.
It's not 330.
It's not 330. Anyways, 318. Guess what his OPS was, Scott?
750.
964. Thank you.
Hey,
you did your job
it.
right.
I learned my lesson.
All right. 964 OPS since the All-Star break for Cavan Biggio in 13 games.
So one thing I will say, I really do like what Benjamin is saying, and I think that Biggio has done a really good job, especially this year, of developing himself into a very good bench utility guy, which is something most major league players struggle with. It is an incredibly difficult spot to be put in. The ability to be consistent when you're not given regular playing time is such a random and tough skill set that requires real mental toughness and the ability to just kind of separate yourself from the highs and lows. And that's something I think that Cavan is learning to do. Listen, I will push back a little bit about Benjamin's how he ended the comment of we don't know Biggio's how did he put it? His what's left in the tank?
Yeah, still potential. We haven't seen the best.
I disagree with that. I don't think that there is any more potential that we haven't seen within Cavan Biggio. However, that said, I think the ability to learn how to be a really good bench piece is something not a lot of guys can do and may keep Cavan on this team and in the big leagues long term. Something that has been kind of on the bubble the last couple of years because he's not an everyday player. He has proven that time and time again. You give him everyday reps, he is going to disappoint you. But my goodness, if you can use a dude like Biggio, who is very versatile, can play all these different positions, and is showing some power at the plate this year, something that he hadn't really done much of up until now. Yeah, I love to see it.
So Santiago Espinal has played 61 games this season. We know from our conversation comparing him to Bo last week, he has 7 errors on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Cavan Biggio has played 70 games this season. He has played second base, right field, first base, and third base. In 70 games, how many errors does Cavan Biggio have? And now, I know this isn't the be-all, end-all of defensive prowess.
Metrics by any means.
But it does say something. So how many errors does Cavan Biggio have through 70 games, which is more than Espinal this season?
4.
He has 1 error.
Wow. See, and that's very impressive. Again, anytime a guy can step in a platoon situation off the bench and provide above average defense and a little bit of power. I mean, I've been really impressed with Cavan this year. He's been in a really difficult spot with the roster crunch and who they've brought in. And, the fact that, Varsho and Belt has taken so many at-bats away from Cavan, last year, Cavan was the only lefty they could pretty much go to, even though he didn't provide much of anything. So, no, great job on Cavan. I agree 100% with Benjamin. The pressure is on Espinal now. I don't think Davis Schneider has to worry too much about it if he just continues to get slotted into the lineup and doing what he's doing. I'm not even saying hit 700, but if he can hit 250 and provide some pop, I think Davis Schneider's safe. I think Espy is the one who should be grabbing his collar and going, yikes.
Yeah, yikes. Okay, let's move on from there then. So from Patreon, Marcus G says, "Hey gents, weekly question for the mailbag." He ends it with thanks. Feel free to cut for length. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to circumcise this question. And we're going to go with the gist of it is there's 3 off days in August. We currently have a 6-man pitching rotation, which already means extra rest for the starting pitchers. So Marcus wants to know, are we going to go 5-man rotation? Like on the 6th day of rest, is someone going to get skipped over in these particular instances? How do we approach this?
Depth is a funny thing, isn't it? Because you have depth, and we see it time and time again. You have depth until you don't, right? You're like, what are we going to do with all these bullpen pieces until Romano and Richards hits the IL? Just yesterday, Hyun Ryu, buddy, putting on a clinic, hitless through 4 innings, takes that, 98-mile-an-hour comebacker off the knee, makes the play, and then goes down. And yes, they did do an MRI, and it came out clean. It is a bone bruise. Who knows? That could wind up making him miss a start. It's not going to be long term, but you don't know how things are going to play out over the next 7 weeks of baseball that remains. And until you need to make those roster decisions, you just go with the flow because you just don't know what's going to happen. So who knows? These days off might mean nothing because Ryu might literally miss a start or two because of this. Now, if not, I think you do need to strut Ryu back out there because wow, did he ever impress me, man. He was hitting his spots with that disgusting, what is it, the slurve,
Right.
whatever you want to, like, it was ridiculous what he was doing for his second start back after 426 days not pitching in the bigs. Like, I am not, I know there were so many people after that first start from Ryu. Twitter was just toxic as hell. People were actually saying, DFA Ryu. Let's get rid of all of our depth. Why even have starting pitching when we can just strut out Gosman every day? Like, I sometimes I don't understand, but you know, you're going to go with a 6-man rotation for the rest of August if you can. If nothing else, just the fact that Barrios, Gosman, and Bassett, all very, very veteran dudes, are all on pace to break their career records. You know, it's not like these are new pitchers without track records and easy to beat innings limits. So the fact that they're all on pace to break their career records for innings pitched in a year, I think you do need to kind of scale things back a little bit, give these guys some breathers, especially the fact that both Bassett and Gosman, if you look at their stats, pitch better on 6 days rest, and so does Ryu. So if half of your staff is pitching better with a little extra rest, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, the only problem is going to be the bullpen crunch, because when you go with a 6-man rotation, you can only go, you only have 13 pitcher spots. So going with an extra man in your rotation means there's one less dude in the bullpen. And there are some guys obviously coming back from injury, right? We haven't even touched on Chad Green, who is literally doing rehab starts in AAA as we speak, right? Jay Jackson has been unbelievable. Like, he's probably going to be the odd man out and going to be sent down mid-August and then called back up when rosters expand in September, which is going to be such a bummer because, I mean, he's the only guy on this roster with an ERA in the bullpen under 1. I mean, Tim Mesa's been flirting with it all year, but we are having some literal career years out of some of these veteran guys in the bullpen that cannot be ignored. And so you just got to go with the flow. When these guys come back, we don't know. When the roster crunch is going to happen, knock on wood that there aren't any more bad tacos.
Chad Green, by the way, for anybody curious, two appearances in AAA as of right now. 2 2/3 innings. He's given up 1 hit, 0 runs, 0 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So,
and for those of you curious, his velo looks good. He's hitting 98. So honestly, Chad Green is going to be a big boost to the back end of this bullpen. And if all of a sudden you have Chad Green, Jordan Hicks, Jordan Romano, Tim Mesa, and you know, a healthy Trevor Richards, like,
that
might
be the best bullpen in baseball.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. Okay. Are you a soy sauce guy? Like when you do like a chicken fried rice, you add in soy sauce?
Yeah. I'm not crazy with it, but yeah, I like. Yeah, okay. I dabble.
I like a good soy sauce. I'm a China Lily guy. Which, you know, the junk of all soy sauces, but that's my go-to. Soy sauce is the pitching depth of the condiment world. Like, when you're adding soy sauce to your rice, you're like, I do not have enough on here. I can't even taste it. And then you add like one more drop, and you're like, that I put way too much in here. And that's where we're at with pitching depth, where it's like, we have no depth at starting pitcher. And then all of a sudden it's like, what are we going to do with all this depth? Like, I got to add more rice to the starting pitcher.
There's too much soy sauce.
So there you go. There's your food analogy of the day. We got there. We did it in under 20 minutes, so that's pretty good. Okay, well, yeah, there's the pitching talk. On YouTube, we got a question from Brian Kettleboater. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Said, when do expanded rosters kick in? That might help. I think they can add a spot or two.
Love this question, and we actually double checked because this rule has changed numerous times with the COVID seasons and what has gone on and taxi squads and all of that. But the answer is September 1st, rosters expand from 26 to 28. So they get 2 extra spots, probably a position player and a bullpen piece will be added. So, like I mentioned with Jay Jackson, he's the most likely dude. If they do have a guy like Green that's coming back or Romano, he's probably going to be sent down and then called back up in September. And I think he's probably even expecting that. We talk a little bit about it in the interview we had with him, which is out tomorrow, by the way. So you can watch for that on our YouTube page. Speaking of interviews, tip of the hat to everyone who has watched the Davis Schneider interview, because we had so many really positive comments about it and just some really cool stuff. So that's also on our YouTube page. If you haven't watched the Davis Schneider interview, do yourself a favor. It's a fun little interview, and it really gives some insight into what the kid has dealt with over the last 6 years in the minor leagues before getting his major league debut.
Also, just as a random one-off when it comes to interviews, we did get a comment yesterday from 70s fan 17. Said, just seeing this now, I was a big Sean Green fan, and it was a pleasure to see this interview. Thanks. So we did
nice.
Spend a full hour with Sean Green, of the Sean Green, Carlos Delgado era.
Yes.
So that interview's in our backlog. Go find it. It's
for those of you who are newer to the channel, maybe you've joined in the last 6 months or so. I know we're boneheads, but it is wild the amount of like high-end talent that has sat down and chatted with us. We've talked with Pat Hankin. That was a really good one. You know, John Gibbons was such a fun interview, sitting down with
Shea
even
Hillenbrand
like
went off the rails.
Shea Hillenbrand
Oh, man.
gets right into the John Gibbons and him like face off and fight they had in the bullpen, or in the clubhouse, and just like how it all led up and his mental health state and how he went sideways and bought a zoo. Anyway, Shea Hillenbrand was another one that was crazy. And while we're plugging interviews, Mark Zepchinski was a really fun one too. Some of you might remember him from back in 2008 to 2010, and then eventually he got traded to the Cardinals when they won the World Series. He was literally pitching in games in the World Series in 2011, became a lefty specialist, and his talk about just how baseball, before they brought in the new rule where you got to face 3 batters, had gotten so wonky in the bullpen because he was never a lefty specialist until he was. And then it was so hard to come back when the 3 batter rule came. Anyways, I don't want to spoil everything, but yeah, Mark Zepchinski, Shea Hillenbrand, John Gibbons, Pat Hankin, Sean Green.
Just
check them out.
The most
Great
interviews you would ever expect to see with like 400 views.
Yes.
Because again, we don't know how to YouTube. So apparently we know how to network, but that's about it. Okay. Moving on then. So on Twitter, I'm wondering if this is from an enemy of the show. Is Trevor at Trevor Calgary? Is this our Trevor?
No, that's not our Trevor. That's not. Right. Although Trevor Freeman, hey buddy, friend of the show.
Hi Trevor, hope you're doing well. Enemy of the show. You're one of the all timers, buddy. We got to get Trevor on again.
We do
for like a long toss to just go off the rails and bulldoze the whole conversation. I feel like we haven't talked to Trevor in way too long. I know it's been way too long. Some health troubles, but hopefully he's doing good and we can get back to talking ball. Okay. So at Trevor Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't read in a way that makes sense to me. So 91 win pace now after 4-game W streak. Okay, I got that. Mm-hmm. We'll hit 3 games versus Cubs this weekend. Should be lit. Jose to LOE. That's where I'm lost.
Level of excellence. So what he's talking about is this Cubs series coming up is going to be the big Jose Bautista celebration.
Right.
And it took me a couple reads to kind of, I'm like, he really made this as short as possible to try and get this, but I got what he's saying. But yeah, very big weekend coming up with Jose Batista being inducted to the level of excellence. So very cool there.
Davis gave them a boost. Why not? Ryu looked sharp last night. Lots of positives. Come on back, Chad Green. Lots of positives.
I mean, a lot of positives, and it's really funny how your win pace can be really changed by a 4-game winning streak. I mean, I predicted 93 wins to start this season. I said, you know what? They're going to beat 2021 and 2022. 2021, they won 91 games, didn't make the playoffs, made the playoffs last year in the wild card facing Seattle. We don't need to get into that. Just sad times. 92 wins. I predicted 93. They are on a pace now for 91. Everyone was panicking just a week ago, right? Only 87. People were screaming from the rooftop, this isn't a playoff team. Man, the amount of for the people who constantly, every time there's 2 losses, scream this team sucks and that they're not going to make the playoffs. Like, do you ever hear anyone walk this back? Because we deal with this nonstop, Adam.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you don't. Anyways, they're looking like a playoff team. They keep going this way. Who knows? I mean, I'm not putting the division back into play quite yet, but I'm definitely not eliminating the craziness of the possibility they make the Orioles sweat a little.
We're on a 4-game winning streak. So are the Orioles. Unfortunately, we are 4 games back of the Rays and 7 games back of the Orioles.
Yeah.
We're 3 games.
Seattle's been winning like crazy.
Right, they're on a 5-game winning streak. We're 3 games up on Seattle for that final wild card spot. 5 games up on Boston. 5.5 up on the Yankees. 8 up on the Angels, who decided, let's go all in before we start our 7-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So Angels just continuing to angel out there in Anaheim. Let's just say it. Is this last playoff spot ours to lose at this point?
100%.
I felt like our grasp on it was a lot more tenuous even a week ago, like at the trade deadline. But
no, I would agree with that statement. This is our playoff spot to lose. This is the Toronto
3-game
Blue Jays
sweep against the Red
lose.
Sox was
massive.
So needed to make up to put 3 games between us and Boston, as opposed to, I mean, the difference between a sweep and winning 2-1 is like you're either 1 game ahead before you met or 3. It's so massive. So, just absolutely massive.
Jared Carabas, one of the top content producers for the Boston Red Sox, he literally tweeted after that series, he's like, time of death, Boston Red Sox, the end of the game. Time just Jay's series, and
pretty much
it sure feels that way. Huge series win and sweep by the Blue Jays.
Like you said, don't look now, but the Mariners are hot on our coattails. Okay, let's get back to the mailbag. So at Kenzozo27 on Twitter says, absolutely loved how Baseball Jen called out Francona's annoying AF boys will be boys comment after that fight on long toss. Stereotypes and gender roles harm all of us, and it's so nice to hear a strong and opinionated femme voice on these #Blue Jays podcasts.
I mean, I missed long toss altogether, but Jen's a gem. She freaking nails it time and time again. One of our biggest regulars on long toss. She's there almost every single week. She's ready to go when we need to bail. So love having Jen. Tip of the hat her way. Always speaks her mind. Always provides a little different breath, a little different direction, a little different, sentiment. And we love her for it.
Man, I gotta say, I went down a rabbit hole of Google reading articles on, is boys will be boys offensive, just before we went live. wild.
A lot
It's
of people find it offensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it promotes rape culture and just
Yeah.
I'm like I try and be as progressive as I can, Scott, but I didn't have a problem with boys will be boys, and maybe that's my straight white male privilege showing. I don't know. If we're getting our knickers in a knot, and that's probably an offensive term too. Sorry for that one. Over the term boys will be boys when two people fight who happen to both be boys. You've lost me. Anyways, I love Jen.
I haven't.
I
Yeah.
disagreed with her in the moment, but then the conversation carried on, and I didn't want to backtrack to push back on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a bridge too far for me.
I do get the idea of letting guys off the consequences, like just being like, oh, don't worry about this shitty behavior. Boys will be
See,
boys.
and this is where, like, I guess my pushback was I didn't think that that's what that expression means. Like, I think it's like, well, it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, comma, so don't worry about it. Like, I
Right.
don't think when Terry Francona said boys will be boys, I don't think he was like, please don't suspend Jose Ramirez because boys will be boys. He was just like,
Well, honestly, dude, this is what society is today. It's
fucking annoying.
arguing over what things mean and how they're interpreted more
I don't
so
even
than
know how to talk
actually.
anymore. This is why I
Well,
wanted to do a sports podcast more than anything else. I was like, we can't get canceled for talking sports,
oh
but
yes, we
oh
can.
yes, we can. Because all right,
I don't know. I'll
let's.
be honest, dude. I'll be honest. When Francona said that, I did go, "Oh, why do you need to say that?" Like,
Did you? Oh,
it did stand
I
out to
guess
me. I
I'm
don't
too
know,
old.
but honestly, dude, it didn't offend me. I was just like, I don't know why he had to bring that into this whole thing. Like, it
See,
promotes locker room culture, which has been deemed toxic, I think is all it is. Anyways, we are way off the rails and don't need to go into this, but I do love Jen providing a
yes, a
a
different
diverse
perspective.
voice, a different perspective, and love Jen to death.
This okay, sorry. This is just where I get like it wrinkles my brain and I just have to do a hard reboot. Is when we're like, we can't say boys will be boys because we're not supposed to like acknowledge gender roles and differences. And then, comma, love having Jen's female voice on the show. It's just like the hypocrisy of like what we're doing in the same breath makes my brain go, I gotta shut down and restart this. So I'm sorry. Let me
It's just
just.
honestly, dude, it's the interpretation of boys will be boys. Like, if you feel that breaks down and is apologetic to like shitty locker room behavior and rape culture and all that, of course it's offensive. But if you view it as like just a throwaway line of like, yeah, sometimes dudes fight, boys will be boys. Of course you're gonna. So it's just like it's all an interpretation thing. And whether
Yeah.
it's perpetuating bad stereotypes or not, frick, there's smarter people out there to figure that out than you and I, buddy.
Well, I do just want to go on the record and say, regardless of my stance on language, I am anti rape.
Yeah, well, I mean, frick, I don't think we need to say that, but yes, agreed.
Well, just sometimes you got to clarify. Anyways, let's move on to something less controversial.
Quicker. We should have moved on quicker.
Moved on quicker. Okay, so the next one comes in from B. Welch, tweeted at us and said, what are your thoughts on Trevor Bauer? I'm just kidding. That's not the next topic. Don't worry, Scott. We're not going there. So I enjoyed your interview with Davis. Great job. You certainly prepare well for such interviews. Keep on introducing us to minor leaguers. It's a real treat.
We absolutely will. Love chatting with these guys that are toiling away in the minors, working their butts off in professional baseball, chasing their dream. You got to respect it. You got to love it. I know we've got Chad Dallas in the can right now. That's an interview we'll be putting out ASAP. He's a double-A pitcher that has made huge strides this year. We are going to continue to reach out to these guys and appreciate the kind words there. And it's funny that he says you definitely prepare for these interviews because We do prepare for these interviews.
Mostly Scott prepares.
It's a team effort,
My
buddy.
level of involvement is talking you off the ledge at midnight the day before. When you're like, ooh, do you think this is a good, ooh, I hope this is, and I'm like, dude, relax.
You've got my voice down anyways.
Boys will be boys. It's just my. All right. Okay, so next one then, we'll end on this. Comes from Discord. So Ron from Toronto says, Angels so bad. They make the mistake of not trading Shohei at the deadline, even though the writing was all over the wall. They trade from their already depleted farm system to get Giolito, and then lose 5 straight. Update, lose 7 straight. Sitting at exactly 500. I think they're below 500 now. They're about to lose Shohei for nothing but a compensatory draft pick and a few more months of Shohei-related ticket sales, ad rev, and merch.
Yeah, honestly, dude, I can't think of more of a mess when it comes to a front office than the Los Angeles Angels over the last decade. What they have continued to do. I mean, the huge mistake they made with Albert Pujols, going all in on him when he was 31 years old, handcuffed them for a decade. I mean, winning the bid to get Shohei Ohtani and then not be able to build around literally the greatest player to ever play the game. And I don't give a shit anymore. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You can argue all you want. You can bring up Babe Ruth and all that crap. I don't care. Shohei Ohtani, like, give me a break. If you watch, like, and I honestly didn't even talk this way even a year ago, but like, how many years do you need to see him be the best pitcher and the best hitter and not eventually start to give him some credit? Like what the Angels have failed to do with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. The fact that they had the ability to literally restock the entire farm. They could have turned this franchise around just by moving Shohei. And I don't even know if it would have hurt their chances to bring him back. If anything, they could be like, listen, we still have Mike Trout. We still have the ability to go out there. We're going to spend big on pitching. We promise we're going to be a luxury tax team. Look at the haul we got for you when you left for 2 months. You still love the West Coast, right? Look at the time zone. Ooh, Pacific time zone. You know, like you think that there'd be a sales pitch there that would be better than just once again emptying any last bit of their farm they had for Randall Grishik and CJ Cron. Like I don't even know what to say about the Angels. Ron from Toronto sums it up beautifully. I forget exactly how he started it, but something along the lines of the Angels are a mess. And yes, they are.
Yeah, Angels so bad. Very efficient.
Angels
with their
so
words.
bad.
Angels
yes, very
so
efficient.
Shohei related ticket sales and ad rev. Funny thing is, I don't know how much ad revenue they actually get from Shohei Ohtani because, like Toronto, the Blue Jays, Sportsnet, it's all the same conglomeration. The Angels don't also own their TV broadcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 2011, they signed a deal with Fox Sports for 20 years at $3 billion. So Fox Sports gets, the benefit of whatever showing Angels games and selling ads based on the fact that Shohei Ohtani is the thing. But
what's
there's
hilarious
no trickle
is
down
like now
to
that
the Angels.
now that Shohei's leaving, I'm sure even Fox is like, oh, why did we sign this 20-year deal with the Angels?
Well, that was back when they had Albert Pujols brought in, and Mike Trout was the hottest thing since sliced bread. But yeah, it's Angels so bad. Put it nicely.
It's really disappointing to see them faceplant, organizationally faceplant. It is what it is.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Shohei will go to a team that makes the playoffs, and then Fox will get to show a World Series game with Shohei Ohtani in it, and they'll be laughing. So,
wouldn't that be nice?
Good luck to Fox and Disney. I know they're having a hard time.
Our hearts break for them right now, but hopefully it all works out.
Hopefully, get back on your feet, kid.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up there, buddy.
Okay.
This has been Mailbag. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your comments and interaction over the last week. We really do appreciate it. Obviously, hit that like and subscribe button if you've yet to do so. All of our audio listeners, a tip of the hat your way. We really do appreciate it. If you are a YouTube viewer and would like to just help the channel out, going on to whatever platform you would get your audio podcasts at and hitting subscribe there is always a nice little help for the channel. So feel free to do that. And Patreon, it is the walk off, right, buddy? There's the at the front of it.
Let's have a quick peek. Patreon.com/the walk off podcast.
There you go. The walk off podcast / Patreon. Every little bit helps. We do appreciate. We've almost got 100 members at this point. So thank you very much to everyone who is a member of the Patreon. Again, that includes instant access to all of our interviews, the Patreon bump for the mailbag,
MLB
and just
Mondays.
our undying love. And MLB Mondays every single Monday. That's right. All right, everybody. We will see you on Friday. A reminder, tomorrow we are releasing our Jay Jackson interview from last week. He gets in depth about everything Blue Jays and his son. He updates us on where his family's at this point, and of course the stretch run and this playoff push. So that's out tomorrow. We'll see you all Friday. Thanks for watching. Cheers.